Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My amendment would strike Section 117 of the bill, which lays out a list of prescriptive conditions for the National Science Foundation and for scientists funded by the NSF. I appreciate my colleague, Mr. Schweikert's concerns about the accuracy of what we're publishing and what we're putting out there in the peer review process. Also, I appreciate the comments of my colleague, Dr. Bouchon, who, I'm a physician as well, and much of our training is scientific based in the research process. So, this is incredibly important what we're talking about today. I also know that both in our the Research and Technology Subcommittee as well as the full committee, Mr. Chairman, we've often expressed the concerns about problems with the ability to replicate research in some fields of science. And I think this goes right to that heart of replicability. That's not an easy word to say, especially in the medical sciences, where I'm trained. Because when we're talking about being able to replicate research, particularly when we're dealing with human life, it's incredibly important. And that is at the core of the scientific method and what we do and how we're trained as research scientists. In addition to everyone on this committee, welcome increased oversight and legitimate discussion about the real challenges facing science and the scientific community. However, Section 117 is ironic because it actually increases the hurdles and conditions and would prohibit any NSF-funded researcher from engaging in research with the primary goal of trying to replicate their own or anybody else's results. That's a problem. Because again, when we're dealing with human life, we want to make sure our research and our discoveries can be replicated and that they're reliable. Specifically, this provision requires that any research grant awarded by NSF be original and unique and supporting a scope of research not otherwise being directly funded by grants provided by other federal agencies. It goes on to require that after just 5 years of funding, every new proposal from a given researcher must be original, creative, and transformative. Again, I appreciate the Chairman's concern about unnecessary duplication of agency efforts, but I'm confused about the mixed messaging about replicability, a cornerstone of sound science. I'm also concerned that this language would prohibit incremental research, another essential element of the scientific progress. As those of us who have been in the research world know, most of science progresses by the slow and tedious process of building incrementally on earlier work. While we should absolutely be looking at every opportunity to promote and fund high-risk, potentially transformative research, we neither can nor should we place this demand on every researcher and every proposal. Even the National Science Board, in providing guidance for peer reviewers, requires such reviewers to evaluate proposals for their potential to be original, creative, or transformative, not necessarily all three at once. Finally, I'm puzzled by the extra hurdle created for researchers who have received just 5 years of grant funding. That may be just a single grant and could easily apply to the faculty who have not yet received tenure. Now, the reason why that is so critical is, in my conversations, my home institution is the University of California, Davis, one of the leading public research institutes in the country, and part of the leading public university research system in the world in the University of California system. When I talk to those chancellors, they're at risk of losing many of their young research scientists because of the uncertainty of funding, the uncertainty of being able to pursue their desire to enter academic research. And we are in an incredibly competitive global environment where we can't afford to lose these scientists to competitor nations like China or Brazil. If the goal is really to encourage researchers at the end of their careers to make room for these new talents, I'm more than happy to talk about that and would really encourage the committee to address that and discuss that. But this legislation, is not about that. It makes grand statements about promoting the progress of science, and while I don't agree with that the bill in general meets that goal, I'm particularly concerned that Section 117 in particular directly undermines it. And I'll yield back.